Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is July 2nd, and right now we're looking at the visible satellite imagery. You can see the sun rising across Pacific Ocean here. Check out the smoke across BC with some of that forest fire activity. Might be filtering into the upper levels of the atmosphere here. A little bit of a tinge in the atmosphere, not a big deal. Look at the low clouds already burning off this morning. A lot of sunshine to be had across the region. We're going to build a thermal trough up the coastline, really warm things up across Pacific Northwest. We'll take a look at those details here in a moment, and we're probably going to start to reintroduce thunderstorm potential here across some of the higher terrain. We'll look at that as well. This is paradise, and you saw in the visible satellite imagery, nice glorious day across the higher terrain and the coastlines, Oregon, Washington, and BC as well. Wildfire safety, we start a lot of fires on the 4th of July. Maybe take it a little bit easy here, and we pump so much pollution into the atmosphere. It's pretty amazing that we kind of do that to ourselves sometimes. But anyway, you maybe take it a little bit easy this year. Taking a look at Seattle, 80 degrees, 6 degrees above average here, and for the month of July, look at this. We only average 0.6 of an inch of rain, and by the end of July, SeaTac averages 79 degrees for the high. And if you look here, precipitation record, we've never hit an inch of rainfall in a 24-hour period in the month of July. I look forward to breaking that record someday. Significant wildland fire potential issued yesterday, Pacific Northwest, above average conditions. This goes all the way through September and even October for western portions there, but just a heads up there for those increased fire risks. This is the NAM 3KM. Let's run this through. Relative humidity. Look how it drops through the afternoon and the evening hours east of the Cascades. So watch out with those gusty winds out here. All it takes is a spark to really kick off some fire. So just a heads up for that. This is looking at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. There's a system that went through BC and Alberta yesterday, and it spawned a few tornadoes here, one particularly photogenic one there through Alberta also. But you can see that system move out. We build this ridge all the way up through southeast Alaska here, and we start to really warm things up. Thermal trough will come up the coastline. We'll take a look at that in some detail. Now, this is yesterday afternoon's European run, and check it out. It backs this ridge up north just far enough here where we could even develop a little bit of low pressure system here and even introduce some thunderstorms here west of the Cascades as we go through the extended. It's way out into fantasy land right now, and this is going to change multiple times, but it's just a fantasy, and we'll watch it here over the next few days. It's very interesting when you can get thunderstorm potential there west of the Cascades, so just something fun to watch. This is looking at mean sea level pressure anomaly. So this shows the thermal trough well. As you can see, the high pressure here going down over the Rockies here, and in turn, by default, you get this offshore wind, you get a little bit of heating, compression along the coastline there, so you get this thermal trough. It is a very subtle feature here. Now we're into July 5th, and you can kind of see it. July 6th, creeping up the coastline there. So we're going to warm up pretty well here, even west of the Cascades, coming up over the next few days. Now, I'll show you this 6-hour precipitation with mean sea level pressure overlaid. Put this into motion, and you can see that system kicking out, but watch the afternoon hours. You can't completely rule out a shower across some of the higher terrain of the Cascades, BC here, over the next few days through early next week. Not widespread until you get out towards the Rockies of Colorado and British Columbia, however. And then you can see we build that up a little bit more here Wednesday afternoon, maybe a couple isolated thunderstorms, and the Cascades start to get in the act a little bit more here as we go through Thursday, even across Oregon here as well. Friday, something similar. But then off in the extended, I mentioned that little bit of a trough there, and you can kind of see it introduce some precip even west of the Cascades. This would be in the form of thunderstorms, and it's purely just my fantasy right now, but it can happen during the summer months there. So hopefully that's something that does trend here over the next few days. Now, this is looking at that thermal trough. I want to show you just how subtle of a feature this is. Can you even really see it too much? You can kind of see it creeping up the Oregon coastline there. The higher pressures inland kind of bring that thermal trough by default here, and then you can kind of see it reaching up towards Vancouver Island a little, but it's not a big pressure gradient. It's a very subtle feature here across Pacific Northwest, but it can warm us up. It is the signature of all heat events here west of the Cascades through the summer months. This is looking at the NAM 3KM 12Z run, hot off the presses, high resolution model. Check out the Okanagan River Gap here. You can really see this terrain feature, and that can bring cold air from BC down into eastern Washington in the winter months as well. See the Fraser River Gap going on there a bit. But then as we go over the next couple of days, look at some of this activity kick up down the gaps here. And you can see this flow turn offshore by the time we go to the 4th of July morning here. So we're really going to warm things up here. You can imagine that offshore flow compressing these winds and warming up our temperatures, even all the way out towards the coastline in some cases. We're going to rinse and repeat and do that all the way through the mid portion of this week here. We'll take a look at these temperatures now. Look at this. By the 4th of July, things really warming up. You're looking at a cross section here. This is 5,000 feet. The top of this is 10,000 here. And you can see at the surface, July 4th and 5th, probably our warmest days here. But we're going to stay warm on through the extended as well. This is looking at Seattle, Tacoma here on the GFS. Check it out. We could be up towards 90 degrees here for the 4th of July and the day after. And it looks like we're going to remain above average. Ignore that one. I don't know what's going on there, but we're going to totally ignore that for now. This is Hoquiam out on the coastline, and you can see that warm air aloft here at about 2,500 feet here, maybe 3,000 feet, with that thermal trough signature moving up the coastline. And this will show that 925 millibars. I put this into motion. You can kind of see that thermal trough trying to work its way up. And by the time we get on into the 4th of July, this warm air aloft has moved all the way up across British Columbia, Vancouver Island. It's out over the coastlines here as well. You can kind of see it hanging on here all the way up to 90 hours on last night's European run, and that's where that one ends. But that's that kind of signature of this thermal trough activity. Now, looking at Astoria, again, that thermal trough with the warm temperatures aloft, just kind of tying those pieces together here. Now, looking at Portland, check it out, July 4th and 5th, probably the warmest days, but staying warm, like I mentioned again, through the extended forecast. And you can see Portland, probably some mid and upper 90s coming for portions of the Willamette Valley as we go through the 4th and 5th, and then staying warm onto the extended. This would be Vancouver International. Warming up quite nicely here by the time you get to the 4th of July here. This is 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook, and the bullseye is here across the Pacific Northwest. Precipitation with that thunderstorm potential here, depending on how that ridge evolves, we could be bringing some above average precipitation, mainly across the higher terrain through the extended. And man, look at that signal down there across the monsoon, just suppressed through July 11th shown there. But yeah, anyway, get out and enjoy this weather. You may see a little bit of smoke in the higher levels of the atmosphere. Maybe it will enhance the sunsets a little bit, but not a big deal this round coming up here. We're going to stay warm, and if you're a thunderstorm lover, cross your fingers that something like that trends where we can get a little bit of an upper level low off the coastline here and maybe bring a couple lightning strikes here west of the Cascades. Puts on a good show sometimes. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are liking these videos. Click like, subscribe, enjoy that warm weather, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.